Ladies and gentlemen, the Caribbean and the Bahamas are experiencing one of the most complex and severe weather spells since the beginning of autumn. After many weeks of stable weather, a strong cold air mass from North America has unexpectedly plunged deep into the tropics, creating major changes in wind, rain, and temperature over a wide area. Under the combined influence of a cold front, the monsoon trough, and the Central American gyre, the entire region from northern Central America to Cuba and the Bahamas is facing prolonged heavy rain, strong winds, rough seas, and an increased risk of flash floods and landslides. In today's news bulletin, we will bring you an overview of the current weather situation, analyze the causes, and provide detailed forecasts for each area in the coming days. At present, on the regional weather map, it is easy to see a cold frontal trough stretching from the Gulf of Mexico across the Yucatan Peninsula and extending down to Central American countries such as Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. Ahead of the front is a strong convergence zone where cold air masses from the north meet warm, moist air from tropical seas, creating thick clouds, heavy rain, and strong gusty winds. At the same time, south of the front, the Central American gyre, a broad low-pressure system that often appears at the end of the hurricane season, is active, drawing moisture from two oceans and pushing this entire moist air mass toward the northern Caribbean. The interaction among these systems is precisely why the regional weather has become extremely unstable, with prolonged heavy rain and strong seas lasting for many days. In Honduras, one of the hardest-hit countries, the weather has clearly deteriorated since the beginning of the week. In coastal cities such as San Pedro Sula and La Ceiba, and along the Bay Islands, winds have been blowing continuously from the north, often reaching over 50 km/h, accompanied by relentless downpours. Locals report that this is one of the longest and heaviest rain events of the year. Coastal roads are flooded, and many low-lying residential areas are temporarily cut off. In Roatan, Utla, and Guanaja, heavy rain has inundated ports, and waves of 2 to 3 meters have forced many small fishing boats to anchor inshore. The Honduran authorities have issued high-level flash flood warnings, urging mountain residents to evacuate temporarily from landslide-prone areas. In Belize, the situation is hardly better. Prolonged heavy rain for many hours has caused river levels to rise rapidly. In some areas, water has flowed into homes, causing localized flooding. Belizean authorities advise people not to travel through deep flooded areas and to be ready to respond to floods. In Guatemala, strong convective clouds are concentrated in the eastern region and the border area with Honduras, bringing heavy rain, with some places receiving over 150 millimeters in just 24 hours. On the hillsides, the risk of landslides is increasing, while roads connecting rural areas have been damaged or blocked by mud. Farther south, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama are the precipitation core of the system. This area lies directly beneath the monsoon trough, where moist air from two oceans meets. Over the next 48 to 72 hours, total rainfall here could reach 250 to 300 millimeters, equivalent to 10 to 12 inches, an extremely high amount that can cause widespread inundation. In Nicaragua, many Caribbean coastal areas have been temporarily isolated, while in Costa Rica, authorities have activated a high-level disaster warning system. In Panama, the meteorological agency warns of rising water levels on major rivers, coupled with tidal effects, significantly increasing the risk of flooding in low-lying coastal urban areas. People are advised to limit travel during heavy rain and to closely follow weather bulletins to proactively respond. In the Cayman waters, the weather continues to worsen with heavy showers and strong winds blowing from the north. Many areas have recorded gusts up to 60 km/h. Daytime temperatures have dropped to around 26.7 3 to 4 degrees below the multi-year average. Seas around Grand Cayman and Little Cayman are seeing waves over 2 meters, creating dangerous conditions for small vessels. Showers will continue to appear scattered over the next few days, interspersed with short breaks, but overall the weather will remain humid, windy, and rough at sea. On Cuba, the cold front has begun to exert a strong impact. Northerly winds have caused temperatures to drop significantly. In the capital Havana, midday temperatures are only about 20 to 22 ward. with overcast skies, occasional light rain, and strong winds. Northern coastal areas such as Matanzas, Villa Clara, and Holguin are forecast to see scattered showers with waves of 1.5 to 2.5 meters. This is a rare remnant cold spell in autumn, but strong enough to make a region that is warm year-round turn chilly, especially in the morning and at night. For Jamaica, the cold front has stalled just north of the island, making on-island air cooler while the southern waters remain under strong winds and high waves. Average temperatures are around Mount-Yatasir with clouds and light showers in some places, but the Pedro Bank waters continue to carry warnings for strong winds and high waves. Fishermen are advised to limit offshore activities for at least the next 48 hours. Although rainfall is not heavy, with steep coastal terrain and soil already saturated by Hurricane Melissa earlier, just a few localized downpours could cause flooding or minor landslides. In the Bahamas, cold air from the north has spread southward, bringing a rare, cool, and dry breeze to the tropics. Temperatures in Freeport and Nassau are only about 19 to 21 degrees Celsius, the lowest since early October. Northerly winds at 30 to 40 km/h are stirring the Atlantic offshore, with waves reaching 3 to 4 meters in places. Some areas such as Andros and the Turks and Caicos are seeing scattered light showers, but rainfall amounts are insignificant. Over the next 2 days, winds will gradually ease. The northwest Bahamas will be dry, while the central and southeast archipelago may still see brief showers. In the eastern Caribbean, including Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and small archipelagos such as the Virgin Islands, Antigua, St. Lucia, and Barbados, the weather is relatively pleasant. In Haiti and the Dominican Republic, showers appear only sporadically with small amounts. Areas such as Puerto Rico, St. Croix, and St. Thomas have strong easterly winds, intermittent sunshine, and occasional short showers. Temperatures remain stable around 29-30 degrees Celsius, favorable for tourism activities. In the southern islands, such as Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago, the weather is mostly sunny. Seas are slightly choppy, with easterly winds of 25-30 km/h, but overall there are no significant extreme weather risks. According to global weather models GFS and ECMWF, over the next 3 to 5 days, heavy rain will remain concentrated mainly in the Western Caribbean and Central America. Honduras, Belize, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama may receive an additional 150 to 300 millimeters of rainfall. In Cuba and the Cayman Islands, rainfall will be about 50-100 millimeters, while in the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, it will be about 20 to 40 millimeters. The Eastern Caribbean will see less rain, and the weather will gradually stabilize. Meteorological experts assess that although there is no sign of a new tropical cyclone forming, the presence of the cold air mass and the convergence zone will keep rain going at least until the end of this week. Regarding temperatures, the cold air has made the northwestern Caribbean unexpectedly cool. Havana is only about 20 degrees, while Grand Cayman and Jamaica stay at 26 to 27. In contrast, the eastern and southern islands of the Caribbean remain warm and sunny at 29 to 30 degrees Celsius. The temperature contrast between these two air masses is the reason winds are strong, particularly in the Bahamas, Jamaica, and offshore Central American waters. In the short term, the cold air mass is forecast to gradually weaken by the weekend. However, strong winds and high waves will continue to affect the region at least until Friday. Fishermen in the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, and Jamaica must strictly follow maritime advisories and avoid going to sea when gale warnings are in effect, or when waves exceed 3 meters. Authorities also recommend that coastal residents check roofs, secure boats, and stay away from dangerous coastal areas during this period. In the longer term, the 2025 hurricane season is gradually coming to an end, but the Central American gyre is still active and may produce a few weak depressions in the Western Caribbean or offshore in the Pacific. Currently, the models do not show clear signals of a new storm, but the risk of widespread flooding remains. With sea surface temperatures still at 28-30 degrees Celsius and high humidity, just a slight change in airflow can trigger a weak vortex. However, the probability of a strong tropical cyclone forming in the latter half of November is very low. Experts warn that people in Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama need to be especially vigilant against landslides and flash floods. Mountainous and hillside areas where the ground is saturated can slip at any time. Households living along the coasts of Belize, Cuba, and Jamaica should proactively moor boats, prepare necessary supplies, check electrical and water systems, and regularly update information from national meteorological agencies. Fishermen in the Bahamas and the Cayman Islands are advised not to go to sea during strong gusts and rough waves, and to pay attention to high wave notices, especially in the Atlantic waters off the eastern coast. Ladies and gentlemen, it can be said that this weather event clearly demonstrates the unpredictable nature of the Caribbean climate at the end of the year. A cold air mass that usually only affects higher latitudes has now plunged deep into the tropics, creating a chain of extreme phenomena from north to south. Heavy rain, strong winds, and rough seas may continue until the weekend. However, the good news is that after the cold air weakens, the weather will gradually stabilize, temperatures will rise slightly, rainfall will decrease, and the Caribbean skies will return to their usual blue. We will continue to closely monitor weather developments and bring you the earliest updates when changes occur. If you are in areas affected by flooding, please stay safe, limit travel when unnecessary, and follow the guidance of authorities. You are watching the Weather Bulletin for the Caribbean and the Bahamas on the Weather Today channel, the trusted source for tropical weather information. Thank you for accompanying the program. See you in the next bulletin with the latest updates on regional and global weather.